Well, welcome everyone to another lab. Today we're going to explore the fascinating world of Azure's load balancer. We're first going to use PowerShell, and PowerShell is being used more and more on the Azure's exams. So that's one reason we're doing it. Two, it's nice to use some kind of automated method. And then after we use PowerShell, we'll learn how to use it via the portal. A couple things to say about the load balancer before we get started. Load balancing provides a high level of availability by spreading incoming requests across multiple virtual machines. So in this lab, we'll be creating one load balancer and 3 virtual machines running IIS. In this lab, we will learn about the different components of the Azure load balancer that distributes traffic and provides high availability. We will do the following. Create an Azure load balancer. Create a load balancer with a health probe. And the health probe acts as some type of pinging device to the VMs to make sure they're healthy to accept requests. Create a load balancer with traffic rules. Use a custom script extension to create a basic IIS site. And we've done this several times now. Create virtual machines and attach to a load balancer. Load balancer is not much use without some virtual machines behind it, usually called the backend. View a load balancer in action. That's just meaning we will send requests to the load balancer and we'll see what VM we hit, number 1, 2, or 3. And then we'll add and remove VMs for the load balancer. So we have 3 in there, we'll take 1 out, put 1 in, put it back, etc. Some more basic information. An Azure load balancer is a layer 4, as opposed to there's a resource in Azure available called an application gateway. That's a layer 7 device. There's a little more than a load balancer. But this is a layer 4 load balancer. And it provides high availability by distributing traffic among healthy VMs. And it does that via a health probe. Basically, with a load balancer, you define a IP on the front end. So your users connect to the IP of the load balancer, and which is usually a public IP address. And then the load balancer distributes the traffic to the virtual machines called a backend. And going to the last paragraph now. First machines connect to the load balancer using their NIC card, so their IP address, to distribute traffic to VMs. The backend address pool, which is the VMs. To control the flow of traffic, you define load balancer rules for a specific port. So in our example, we're going to do port 80. So I think that's enough of theory. These labs are mostly how-to labs. So let's get started. Okay, first we need to do is create a resource group to put all our resources in, using some variables here. RG is going to be, our resource group is going to be speed load balancer, or how about speed RG, right? That's a little better. Location will be East US, and then our one command. So run this command, put that in memory. This command, put it in memory, and create a resource group. And excellent. All right. Next we want to do is we want to create a public IP address for the load balancer. So we'll go ahead and public IP equal to the new AZ public IP address. Resource group name is $RG. Location is $location. And allocation method is going to be static. And our name, let's call it LB PIP for load balancer public IP. And I'll make that a variable. Public IP is equal to $LB PIP. How about that? And that should be good. We'll run it. Oh, well, gotta run that. And then run this. Silly me. We need that to be $public and get rid of this. How about that? Think that'll be better? Let's clear our screen here. Hold on. We'll get this going here. There we go. Public IP. That's better. Public IP. How about that? Now. All right. Doesn't happen very often, does it? All right. Next step is to create a backend pool. The VM's attached to this backend pool in our steps after this one. So let's go ahead and create. Make a little rem statement. Create a backend pool. So $backend pool is equal to new AZ load balancer back end address pool config. And that name will be speed backend pool. And can we be so lucky to get 2 commands with no errors? Oh, look at that. Now for the step we've been waiting for to some degree. Yes, if you haven't already guessed it, we're going to create the load balancer. So we'll say $LB is equal to new AZ load balancer, resource group name, $RG, name of our load balancer, we'll call it speed LB, location is $location, front end IP configuration is $front end IP, and back end IP address pool would be backend pool. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Let's see what happens. All right, so before we do any more PowerShell, let's take a look at the portal and see what we have. Here we have our public IP address. Cool. And we have our load balancer. Let's take a look at that. Now, some of the things we should have in our load balancer is a public IP address attached to it, and we do. We got our backend pool defined. Of course, there are no VMs in the backend pool yet, just have a name. Look at front end IP config. We have a public IP address defined, but no rules yet, which is to be expected. We look at the backend pools. We have the name, but no machines yet. So those are the things we'll be doing coming up. Okay, our next step is to create the health probe. And we're going to take a look at what a health probe is in some general terms. And here we'll be looking at the last paragraph. It's going to allow our load balancer to monitor the status of our VMs, which I'll be running IIS. So we need a health probe. The health probe dynamically adds or removes VMs from the load balancer based on the response to health checks. So basically, it's going to do I'm simplifying it, but it's going to do a ping, and if the VM responds, the load balancer will keep sending requests to the VM. If the VM does not respond, the load balancer will declare that VM as not online and stop sending requests to it. So that's all you really need to know about probes for our lab. So let's get going here. And let's continue, and let's create our, I'm just going to give us some space here, and let's create our health probe. So make a rem line, create a TCP health probe. All right, so we're going to do add AZ load balancer probe config. There we go. Give it a name. We'll call it speed health probe. What load balancer? Well, our load balancer is star LB. Protocol, well, we said we're going to create a TCP one, so we'll go with TCP. And port, not going to be anything crazy, just do port 80. Interval in seconds, 15, and probe count. So this is basically saying if interval of 15 seconds, we'll do 2 counts. So if I don't get a receive back within 30 seconds, we'll declare the VM as offline. All right, so let's run this command. And there we go. Notice I went to health probes. You don't have anything yet. That's because the command is not fully set yet. We have to do a set AZ load balancer, and then specify the load balancer we want, and in our case star LB. So let's do that. Kaboom. And now we see our speed health pro protocol TCP port 80. So excellent. Our next step is to create a load balancer rule. Notice, don't have any, and we need some.